He's legendary for winning those 4 Ladbrokes Cox Plates in a row with the champion mare Winx, and now Chris Waller is trying to add a 5th with the import Bodegon. Thanks for joining us, Chris. Let's talk Bodegon first. It's somewhat of a role reversal for you because you had Winx, the Aussie star, and you beat so many internationals with Winx, including Ben Battle in that last one. But this time you've got an international trying to beat the Aussie star in Hammo.
We sure are. So it's a talented horse. He won a Group 1 as a late two-year-old. And his form since has been good. And I seem to find the European form has depth. And regardless of whether it be France, England, Ireland, there's always good form lines to come out of those countries. So he's consistently running in good races. He likes all conditions. And we don't have the weight for age horse ourselves this year, so it seems appropriate to bring one in, and one that we've had a bit of involvement through right from his purchase at the yearling sales.
Tell us a little bit more about that involvement.
We could see the European horses were getting very expensive, so we thought, we need to find a way to get them to Australia without paying the same price. So we got John Ferguson to buy a few yearlings. His son James Ferguson was starting to train at the time, so we said, well, let's support James. He's had time in Australia and experience with Godolphin. I think it was John O'Shea at the time, and did a great job travelling horses after that as well. So we thought, let's give him a go. So that's why Bodegon went to James, and it was his first Group 1 winner. So unfortunately, he had to come out to Australia at some time for James, but fortunately for us that he's come to our stable and we'll continue on his preparation.
Is there a real sense of timing around his preparation as well?
Well, he's come out for one run, and the beauty of James is he hasn't over-raced the horse. It's not just an afterthought. He wanted to send him out to Australia with plenty of racing left in him, as well as the autumn and beyond. So he's only a 3-year-old by the European terms. So he's lightly raced. He hasn't been fully taxed this preparation. There's still a little bit left. So from a timing perspective, he's ready for the Cox Plate.
Is Hammo a daunting prospect, trying to beat him in the zone he seems to be in?
Well, Hammo's faultless. He runs a good race every time. There's very little chinks in his armour, and he's obviously been set for the race, and he's in great form. So that's the best thing for a Cox Plate. He's the benchmark, and there's a few others there that can perform on their day, but Hammo's certainly the benchmark.
Let's go back to Saturday. Your second Caulfield Cup win, and somewhat unexpected. I mean, certainly unexpected because you only got in on the morning of the race. Take us through the morning, firstly. Yeah,
well, it's one of those things. You don't get too far ahead of yourself. We were already starting to plan his next race. We had the phone call. I had a missed number from Victoria, and I said to Charlie, if they ring you, you better get it, because that's the default. If they don't get me, I was in the middle of track work. They ring Charlie, and Charlie was outside, and he gave me the nod to know that we'd got on the race, which was great. Then we decided, well, do we run? It's a heavy track. He doesn't like wet tracks. But to the credit of the Caulfield Club and curators, that track improved from a heavy 10 a couple of days earlier through to a soft 6. We got that improvement in the track, and it was just one thing led to another. Perfect ride from Michael D. Needed to get out though from a perfect ride. He got out, 300 to go, set off after the favourite, Gold Trip, and nailed him right on the lines. Doesn't get much better than that, and you couldn't have scripted it any better. And it was a fitting result for a decent horse.
Obvious next question is he the sort of horse who could do the Cups double? Opinions are divided on how strong that form will be.
Yeah, well, the staying ability of the horse is not to be questioned. I think he'll get the 2 mile distance, which will rule out half the horses straight away. His form, Caulfield Cup, whether it be the strongest Caulfield Cup or not is irrelevant, because it's a sense of timing. I think it's still the best race to win going into the Melbourne Cup. Despite his re-handicap of 2 kilos, 53.5, I think he's still in fairly well for a Caulfield Cup winner. So he gets his chance. So we'll be going to the races pretty confident.
It's a roller coaster ride when you're training and you're in two different states and feature races on the one day, and you rode that roller coaster, didn't you? In the space of an hour, the joy of a Caulfield Cup, the disappointment, I guess, with the expectation around Nature Strip.
Yeah, it was a massive build-up towards last week. The media leading into both meetings was huge. In particular, because I was back in Sydney, and what they've done to promote the Everest is just second to none. It's a race that's packing the race course that's been going 5 or 6 years. It's capturing imagination from around the world. People investing in the race is just unheard of, and it's an amazing thing for Australian racing. Then Caulfield Cup the same day. So yeah, we had the favourite, obviously, of Nature Strip. There's always a sense of pressure there, but when you're talking a $15 million race, it's something quite different. Like, I felt the Winx type pressure.
Really?
Yeah, I really did. Obviously the expectation of her to win, but like, you're talking $15 million. If the horse wins a race, the connections get $10 million. If it gets beat, they get 400,000 or something. Still not a bad return, 400, but 10 million, 400, it's a big difference. So yeah, the pressure building towards those races is huge. The media build up was fantastic. So it really is a good time to be in the sport. And yeah, as you said, the roller coaster ride, that sport at its best, the bounce of the ball, Nature Strip, everything just looked perfect for the first 400 metres of the race. You just got caught a bit wide, and I think that was the effort telling in the concluding stages. He just stopped that last 50 when the up-and-comers and new kids on the block just charged at him. So he was caught on the line, but he'll bounce back.
Have you talked to Rod about, when the curtain comes down? Has that been discussed at all?
It hasn't been discussed, because I think you just let the horse do the talking. When he tapers off, I think it's a good time to retire champions, and in my eyes he is one. He's right up there with the best of the sprinters, so we won't be just sending him around for the sake of it, or sending him down the straight for the sake of it. So yeah, when that day comes, I think it'll be obvious for everybody, whether it's myself or whether it's Rod Lyons. Yeah, it'll look pretty obvious to everybody.
And just back on the Everest, before we look ahead to Melbourne Cup week, as someone based up in Sydney, and you've been there a long time now, this has taken off, and Sydney needed this, didn't they? Sydney racing needed this.
Yeah, we did. They did, and we did. If you don't stay up with the times, you'll get left behind, and what you need to do is capture the imagination, capture the younger generation that was lost, and the Everest is really doing it in a big way. So, look, I used to see the 1st of October as the final weekend. It'll be the final for the NRL, AFL and racing in Sydney, and everyone would go down to Melbourne. And I think that's what Peter V'landys and his board saw, was the loss of wagering, loss of income. It was all being moved down to Victoria, and the stakeholders in New South Wales were missing out on all that money. So cleverly, like it or not, they've made huge inroads into that. Yeah, it's clever, and it's boosted the breeding industry, and there's so many people dependent upon that, and it really is on a high.
Looking ahead really quickly to finish up with, you had such a magnificent Melbourne Cup week last year, including, of course, winning the Cup itself. Is there a couple of horses we should watch out for?
A horse like Pungo in the Carbine Club will be certainly one to look out for, and I think he's the one that sort of rolls off my lips at the moment. But any of the sort of 3-year-old fillies, we sort of bring them down thinking they've got a nice future, so just keep an eye open for the support races, because they might not be a big name just yet, but we'll be aiming towards big things in the future.
Thanks for joining us, and best of luck over the next few weeks of the Carnival.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.